Multiple tech companies shut down political speech in the name of shutting down far-right hate. There's a lot more to the story than that, and there's a lot more than that was shut down. Hi, I'm Tommy C, and this is Shot from the Point News. As you can see, this article right here, YouTube shuts down far-right channels over hate speech, but there's really a lot more to it than it's not just YouTube, and it's not just the far right, and it's not even debatably the far right in some cases. YouTube on Monday shut down 6 far-right channels for violating its rules against supremacist content, booting videos by David Duke, Stefan Molyneux, and Richard Spencer. Now, those 3 guys, at least 2 of them, are clearly openly white supremacists. So you might not cry too much. Stefan Molyneux, while I don't know if I would call him a white supremacist, is certainly his obsession with identity politics, his cult-like following, and his encouragement of cult-like behavior when it comes to dealing with your family. Certainly, all 3 of these men don't make you feel too bad that they're being taken down. But at the end of the day, this is political speech, like it or not. American principles when it comes to things like that, and people like this are allowed to be heard. Now, you might say, and you would be correct, that these are companies and they're allowed to keep on who they want to keep on and get rid of who they want to get rid of. But some might argue, and I would have to argue this myself, when you see the hate and vitriol on the left, you don't see the type of punishment in general, not in all cases, as we'll see as this video goes on. And it is American principle that even the most heinous people can have the most heinous political opinions. I would also argue that social media has become the public square. If you do not have a presence on social media, if tech companies can decide that your opinions are not in line with theirs, therefore they can remove you for being a far-right person, a far-left person, or just hateful in general, your political views, hateful or not, will be removed. This is not the principle of the First Amendment. Why clearly the First Amendment doesn't protect absolutely every form of speech, one thing that is absolute, that political speech, no matter how heinous, is protected absolutely. So I find it a bit of a shame that American tech companies don't have these principles. That also gives them the opportunity to influence elections the way they see fit. And why you might say there's multiple companies, as you'll see in this video, the companies are clearly colluding when they make these purges. You might remember the Alex Jones situation where several tech companies came together at the same time to purge him from social media. Now, if you think I'm overstating the possible election influence, well, allow me to triple down. It would be election meddling. If all these tech companies who are in the Pacific Northwest are ideologically aligned, collude when they ban people and control the bulk of information, they can simply omit the information that counters their political beliefs, that challenges their political beliefs. And we're seeing this in a smaller form that Alex Jones, David Duke, Stefan Molyneux, Richard Spencer, not guys you cry over, but that's how you soften the blow when you are eliminating or omitting information or people that may not be extremist, but nonetheless you have the power to label them with absolutely no ability to challenge you. If you control the information, you control the narrative. Eric Weinstein put a very interesting tweet, and surprisingly in defense of Stefan Molyneux yesterday. Of course, Eric Weinstein was the professor that refused to leave his college despite students' demand based on the color of his skin, and he became famously involved with what is now called the intellectual dark web. Eric Weinstein writes, "I have been relentlessly critical of Molyneux. I do not know him, and he frightens me. But if Stefan's worst views on race frighten me, understandably, it is YouTube and Susan Wojcicki's corporate views on thought and expression which truly shake me to my core. It's not even close. In other words, as wacky as Stefan is, as dangerous as his ideas may be that are put into practice, the power of social media trumps any Ku Klux Klan wizard. So let's take a look at the censorship or culling that went on yesterday. The _Donald subreddit, which has over 790,000 subscribers as of Monday morning, was shut down for frequent rule breaking, antagonizing the company and other communities for failing to meet our most basic expectations, according to Reddit CEO Steve Huffman. Last year, Reddit had restricted functionality and visibility of the Donald due to repeated rule violations as a community, according to political reporting, and long had been plagued by racist, xenophobic, and other derogatory content. Now, I can't speak to that. I don't think I've been on the Donald more than once. I'm not a big Reddit user. I find it to be the most obnoxious and censor-filled social media site on the planet. I don't know what I dislike more: a used car salesman, a lawyer, or a mod on Reddit. In fact, I'd almost rather have a used car salesman date my daughter than anybody that's ever modded for Reddit, to be perfectly honest with you. But again, I don't know whether I can't imagine there wasn't a racist post at one time or another. I know Mr. Trump did an AMA there in 2016, and I know a lot of the very funny memes that I've seen that were not racist have come from the Donald in the past. That being said, I've been told that Donald was kind of on his last legs after the quarantine, and most of the members and meme makers had moved on. But that's not the only censorship we saw yesterday. Chapo Trap House, a forum devoted to the leftist podcasting group, is among the other roughly 2,000 and other communities shuttered by Reddit as a part of a revamping of the company's hate speech policies. Now, this is a group that would probably have been very much for the censorship of the Donald on Reddit, but they fell victim themselves. I am not sure at this moment how many left-wing Reddit subreddits were punished. It does seem to be a bit of a token. After all, social media is coming under increasing pressure to explain themselves why they seem to concentrate mostly on the far right or right in general. And you don't see violent left-wing, and they do exist, subreddits, places on Facebook, groups in general taking down to the degree that we see the right-wing ones taken down. That being said, I have not been on Chapo Trap House. I don't know if they actually violated anything, and very well could be. This could be a progressive site that leads you to progressive podcasts, and they never broke any rules, at least with that being my experience with social media. Following the rules is not only always a solution to avoid banishment. You could be banished for things that you've changed in the past. You can be banished for simply not being liked, or in this case, probably just to keep the government off your back. This is interesting. Twitch said that one of Trump's 2016 campaign rallies, which recently rebroadcast on the platform, and comments made at his recent Tulsa rally led to suspension. Hateful conduct is not allowed on Twitch in line with our policies. President Trump's channel has been issued a temporary suspension from Twitch for comments made on the stream, and the offended content has been removed, a Twitch spokesman told Forbes. And of course, what was omitted was what was said, which is not uncommon with Twitch. Of course, we have the Dr. Disrespect issue going on right now. He's apparently has been perma-banned. Twitch has yet to release the reason for his perma-ban. And we've seen this before where Twitch will let you go and just kind of let you guess. And that gives them the opportunity never to be held accountable for their own policies. If they have a policy and you're within that policy and they just don't like what you're saying, you can be removed. Certainly, this is the clearest example that we have of political speech. There is nothing but political speech at a political rally being censored by a big tech platform. Even upstart social media platforms that claim to be an alternative for free speech are not safe. As predicted, Parler is banning users it doesn't like. Thor Benson claims he got banned from Parler. Respectable lawyer says pretty much all my leftist friends joined Parler to screw with MAGA folks. Every last one of them was banned in less than 24 hours because conservatives truly love free speech. And if that is the case, there is absolutely nowhere to go. And that's why a respectable lawyer and Thor Benson, I think, probably should speak out when folks like Alex Jones are taken down, like Stefan Molyneux, and people of that nature. Because if for some reason big tech grew up in right-wing fans, you would have a problem. And I would like to think there would be people on the right that would support your point of view, regardless on how they feel about it or how distasteful they find your ideas. I do want to note that I have no idea why Parler banned them. I'm certainly not accusing them of this. I do believe there are scenarios such as calling for violence and organizing violence. Those, I think, are acceptable for any platform, and I think that is reasonable. I'm not accusing them, but I also want to point out I don't know what they did. So, what do you say? What do you do? Well, I only really have two ideas. One, I'm not too happy with. Well, why don't we, force these folks to call themselves publishers, and that would relieve their protections, at least in the United States, from responsibility of what their user says. I mean, we've seen situations where Donald Trump's tweets have been edited or asterisks have been put there, or the links have been put there to counter Mr. Trump's tweets. That's clearly an edit. That's what a publisher does, and they would lose their protections from lawsuits. I don't particularly like that. I like the way it is. The other way would be across the board federal legislation saying you can only ban folks not for their political ideas, no matter how offensive. That means you need people that support the Khmer Rouge and Chairman Mao and the Ku Klux Klan and skinheads. And they have to be tolerated, at least from their speech, as long as they don't call for violence. Some kind of legislation like that would hold social media accountable, I think, would be a nice alternative rather than taking some of their lawsuits protections away, because those things could drive them, out of business completely. I wouldn't want that. But I think if this continues, if they have this kind of influence over elections, if they have the ability to meddle in elections, I think they should go. I've long predicted on my podcast that in August of 2020, for 2 years now I've said this, that Donald Trump's Twitter account would be removed from the platform for hate speech. I expect that to happen in the next 60 days. There's no reason it wouldn't, and I think it would also come along, like you've seen today, coordinated with other social media companies taking Trump off the platform. This is not the future we want, I would imagine, if you're for free speech. I don't really see this as a partisan issue. While I am, freely admit, partisan, I have an ideology, all speech should be protected. It is too bad that this is true, that Parler doesn't practice what they preach, but I think it's up to possibly, and I hate to say this, the government to remind these social media companies and tech companies how important the First Amendment is.